Hey, Prime members, you can listen to Crime and Sports early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Download the app today.
In the depths of an Atlanta forest, a clash between activists and authorities ends in tragedy. I'm Matthew Scher, and on my new podcast, We Came to the Forest, we expose the hidden truths behind a shootout that left one activist dead and countless lives forever changed. Binge all episodes of We Came to the Forest ad-free on Wondery Plus.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Crime and Sports.
Yay!
Yay indeed, Jimmy. Yay indeed. My name is James Petrogallo. I'm here with my co-host.
I'm Jimmy Wissman.
Thank you, folks, so much for joining us today on another wild edition of Crime and Sports. And every day of Crime and Sports is wild when we're alive. And we're alive, the show's alive, and we love it so much. So we
all
can't.
working.
Oh, it's been so crazy lately, too, with Evelyn Stevens and a couple of blonde guys. We had two blondes in a row. I don't know how often we've ever had that on this show. Two blonde people in a row. It was almost three, but then I went a different way. I was like, wow, not for that reason, but just I realized it was almost three. But we'll get to everything. We have a crazy-ass episode. We'll get to all of that. But first, we need to tell you, of course, go to shutupandgivememurder.com, especially for February the 10th, Cleveland, Ohio, kicking off Small Town Murders 2023 tour. We're very excited for that. Get your tickets. There's still some left in Cleveland right now.
Cleveland in February, because our agents hate us.
Yeah, because our agents sent us to New Orleans in July last year. Just fucking hatred. I don't know what we did to these people, but they do not like us. So there, then St. Louis, and also extra shows added, an extra show in Seattle, an extra show in Portland. So those tickets are available right now. Also, of course, Pittsburgh and Detroit in May, get those. And then the rest of them will go on sale soon. We don't know when. They don't tell us anything. Like we said, we must be hated. So we'll let you know, though, when it happens, definitely. Patreon.com/crime and sports is where you're going to get all of the bonus episodes. My goodness, for anybody, $5 a month or above, a cup of coffee. God, a cup of coffee gets you cheaper than gets you not only over 150 episodes of back catalog for the bonus stuff, but you're also going to get new episodes every other week. One Crime and Sports, one Small Town Murder. And what do you get access to, Jimmy?
Oh, God damn it, everything.
Everything, that's right. This week, what we're going to handle is for Crime and Sports, it's been talked about so much, we've had it come up on episodes, so we're just going to handle the whole thing. We're going to talk about 10-cent beer night, the history of baseball 10-cent beer nights, and on several occasions, there was a crazy shit that happened, and the fields got destroyed, and people got hurt, and we'll talk all about it, as you might imagine.
It's almost like cheap alcohol causes problems.
Weird. It's almost like if you get a bunch of young guys and cheap alcohol together, they'll start fighting with each other after 3 hours of a baseball game. Strange, right? And then for Small Town Murder, we're going to talk about something very cool. Get away from the murder for 2 seconds here and talk about some scams. Back in the day, there was a lot of small town scams where people would have these like developments and they would send all these advertisements back east to people. Come to this small town where it's going to be beautiful. And then when they get there, nothing's developed and there's no roads and they don't have like a grocery store. We're going to talk about these scams where they bought a swamp they can't build a house on, stuff like that. Happened during the Dust Bowl a lot and stuff in Oklahoma. We'll talk all about that. Small town scams. Patreon.com/crime and sports. And of course, you'll get a shout out at the end of the show where Jimmy's going to mispronounce your name while he desperately tries to get it correct. That said, let's get right into this right now with our asshole of the week. Holy shit. We're going to an old-timey asshole here today. Oh. Yeah, different. Usually a little more modern, but I've been loving the old-timey shit lately. Ty Cobb, even Evelyn Stevens. I know that wasn't that old-timey, but it still felt...
It's a different time. It's a different thing that was acceptable. It's fascinating.
What this guy did has never been acceptable. Maybe in Greece, but otherwise probably not. We're going to talk about William Tatum Tilden Jr.,
Jesus.
Junior, right away, right off the bat here. So it's Bill Tilden is his name. He's one of the top 5 tennis players of all time.
Oh,
He on every list. I mean, he was the dominant player of his era, hands down. The Babe Ruth of tennis is what he kind of was. Like, he was really good. They called him Big Bill Big Bill Tilden. That's his nickname. Also, easier to market people back then. Big is plenty.
That'll help.
And Big back then was 6'1.5". He was. So he wasn't like 6'6". He's 6'1.5". That's Big Bill over there. He's huge.
Oh, boy.
He's born February 10th, 1893. So that explains a lot of it here.
Back when tennis rackets looked like badminton rackets.
Exactly. He even has his own. He's one of the first guys that has like his own signature equipment that sells because of him. Yeah, I mean, he's got endorsements. This guy's a star.
Really?
So he's born in Germantown, Pennsylvania, and he's born into a very wealthy family here. Germantown's in Philly, and he is from a very wealthy family in the city of Philadelphia.
That's generally the people that play tennis.
It's back then it was exclusively that. One of Bill's things was to try to spread tennis to people of quote other classes. He wanted
that's dangerous.
He wanted the lower classes to play tennis also because he said it's a fun game and everyone should play it. Yeah. So, but you need very specific things for tennis that often aren't available if you're poor. That's the thing.
It's expensive.
It's expensive, yeah.
That's a very expensive sport.
It's not easy, absolutely. So his family, 3 of his older siblings died.
Is that right?
Like, when he was little and before he was born from, this is pre-penicillin. This is pre-penicillin we're talking. So late 1800s, you get anything, it'll kill you. Mm-hmm. So his father was obviously William Tatum Tilden. He was a wool merchant and a local politician.
Okay. So, selling coats and running for office.
Running for office. And his mother, Selina Hay, was a pianist at the time. So these are very
classy folks.
They have one of these old brownstone houses probably. It's the very classy servants. They have butlers.
Did all the best things in Philly.
Yeah, butlers and cooks and everything. This is like Downton Abbey American style. You know what I mean? It's interesting. So as a boy, Bill was nervous, high-strung, and had a terrible temper, everybody said. He was really, just amped up all the time, real hard to deal with. So what you're
saying is he was rich.
He was a little rich twat. Well, back then, though, little rich twats were like, the world is my oyster, so they usually...
calm because you don't have to worry.
They might have a bad temper, but they're not high-strung or nervous, really. They're not nervous at all. I'm taken care of forever. What am I nervous about? Shit, I already have a trust fund. Yeah, I don't even do laundry. I already have a trust fund. This is awesome. God, that's got to be great.
Did their servants all get sick at the same time? Is that what he was worried about? He's going to have to cook and clean and shit now?
It's very, Jesus Christ, they're in here. They're shaking hands with each other, these people. I don't know what's going on. His older brother, Herbert, introduced him to tennis to, quote, soothe his unruly temperament.
Oh.
He's hyper and unruly, and his brother said,
his ass ragged.
Hey, hold this racket and run back and forth for 2 hours, and I bet you're less of a pain in the ass when you get home.
I'll bet you. Yeah, I'll bet
it worked.
You're sleepy. Yeah.
And it worked. He says later on he'll write a book called My Story, and it's at a very weird time in his life that he writes it, and there's a couple things here that we have to talk about that are major, major issues in his life that we'll get to. He says, quote, my childhood was happy, sheltered, and I fear rather that of a slightly spoiled brat. That's from his book.
Yeah,
he's a really good writer, by the way. He actually, for a while here, will make his living writing while he's playing tennis. He wrote plays. He wrote episodes of TV that came out later on. He's a very prolific writer. He said, in other words, mine was the typical well-to-do Philadelphia family life of the late 90s, meaning 1890s. Yeah. This is like Gilded Age shit. This is, there was a show that was like that they tried to make, I think it was on Amazon or Hulu or I don't fucking remember, but it was a show where it was like American Downton Abbey, late 1800s America with guys were like roughly like the robber barons who were building these big mansions in New York City and all that. And that's exactly what this is. Like, they were living a whole different life. They were worried about social calendars and, things like that, etiquette books and, cricket games and shit that people who worked in a factory 16 hours a day definitely didn't worry about back then.
Just generally being better than you every day, all day.
And this was the time when 10-year-olds worked in mines and shit. So this is their life is so different from everybody else in this country. The vast, vast majority. It's wild. So he says, quote, I detested school and avoided it by virtue of private tutors. Oh, so he grew up not going to school until he was a junior in high school is the first time he went to school. Before that, it was all at home. He said, quote, I was no wonder boy in athletics, but I did have game sense. That is, I played all games naturally well, and except for tennis, none outstandingly. Oh. So tennis, he's got a thing, because his style, too, I've been reading a lot about his style, and I know small amounts about tennis, obviously. I'm not an expert in, like, the history of tennis, but I've played the game some. Like, there was a park when I was a kid by my house, and my grandmother had a tennis racket, and some other kid had a tennis racket, so we'd all use and switch off and shit and try to play. You know, none of us were fucking good. We played basketball mainly, but, you know, you could fuck around with that, too, a little bit. And so I know, like, angles, and it's difficult. It's a difficult game, obviously. He plays, like, the sit back by the back line there and play the angles of everything. He's very good at just good at knowing how to hit a ball, how to spin a ball. He's that kind of guy. He kind of lets the game come to him.
It's a hard fucking game, man.
It's a very hard game. The side to side of it is you got to be so quick and
to be able to get speed on that ball at the same time as no loft.
Yeah.
And get it to drop to get in. It's fucking crazy.
And the reaction time you need to return a serve that's over 120 miles an hour is wild. I mean, you got to have some serious reaction time.
Sincerely baffling.
That's crazy. And also coming off the ground on a hop, so you have to worry about what kind of spin that ball has on the ground coming up. It's a lot. So he said, though, quote, I must have been pretty hot on the courts as a kid because I won and listen to this shit, I won the 15 and under junior boys championship, so years 15 and under. Yeah. At the Ontaroa Club in 1901 at the age of 7.
7? He beat everybody else.
He was beating the 15-year-olds at 7.
I must have been good.
I must have been pretty good. I mean, I don't know.
Hilarious.
His mother is called a, quote, semi-invalid all the time. Like, that's the phrase that keeps coming up. She had Bright's disease.
I don't even know what that is.
I don't know. I know people still have it. But I think you can treat it now. Back then, I don't think you could treat it at all because she died when he was 18 years old.
Jesus.
And from this disease, and it had been slowly debilitating her over the years as well. And the weird part is his dad is still alive. His dad has a giant house with staffed to the gills with servants, every kind of servant you could possibly want. But they sent Bill to live with his aunt instead. Listen, yes, they could all take care of you, but I'm a single man. I can't have you in my home. Like, you got to fuck off. Sorry.
You're not as impressive to the ladies as this house and this staff.
You understand? When I have, like, a party where I'm, like, doing coke off the table at 2 a.m, I can't have you wander into this room. Do you get how this works? Because back then, people were getting down with coke like a motherfucker. Really? So, yeah, this was, like, party time back then. This was, like, the 70s. Of that. Oh, yeah. The early 1900s were like huge because you could just buy it over the counter anywhere.
Recreational shit everywhere.
Oh, it was wild. Yeah. We did an episode about that, a bonus episode about drugs back then. Yeah. So he was sent. It was only a few houses away, but that's got to be weird. Her dad just going,
that's
look,
worse, isn't it?
Your mother has died, okay? Because back then, I'm sure it wasn't like, listen, son, and a big hug and tears being shed. He's like this he probably sat down and he probably sent a servant in to tell him. They said, your mother has died. And he's like, really? And they're like, yes, you'll be moving out now. And they just start packing his shit. What are you talking about?
Your father would like me to serve you with his eviction notice.
Yeah. And he was 18, but still, like, you wouldn't even, it's a huge house. You could probably not even realize he was there. You could probably just avoid that wing.
He likely doesn't even need his father to really do anything for him.
Well,
at 18?
That's the weird part. He's sent to live with an aunt who's a never married, a maiden aunt, they called her. Yikes. So that's the aunt here.
Some useless bitch.
Yeah, you hang out with him, you useless. She didn't even have kids, this useless bitch. Back then it would be like, Jesus, she didn't even have kids that half of them would die from disease anyway. What an idiot. So he's sent down there, and he will live with her till he's 41.
Jesus.
Or 46, some shit. He'll live with her
What a
well into his
bizarre-
40s.
Figure it out, man.
Dude, through being famous, he's like best friends with Charlie Chaplin, and he's like, all right, guys, I got a curfew.
What?
My aunt really gets pissed when I come in past 11. Like, what is happening? He's in Hollywood movies and shit, and he lives with his
She
aunt.
hears the key in the lock. She wakes right up. I don't want to disturb her.
Right? Well, he also keeps a room, a suite at the Algonquin Hotel in New York, which is very expensive. But
very nice,
he keeps that also just on the side, and he's very wealthy. I mean, they're a wealthy family.
Wow.
He says about his whole childhood and his mom dying and everything, quote, "These events took much of the usual youngster's wildness out of me. I was in no mood for wild oats or anything else. I was in no mood." I like the way he writes. I was in no mood
for wild oats
or anything else.
Couldn't you just say I wasn't? I mean, you could say a lot of things. That's a fascinating way of saying I don't fuck random broads.
Well, yeah, or anything. Well, he'll talk more about that. Then I started to gain prominence in tennis, and at an age when the average boy contemplates settling down with one girl, began my wanderings all over the world. So he says when you start courting a girl at this age back then, that's when I'm going all over the world playing tennis. So I don't have time for that shit. He said, I never stayed in one place long enough to become emotionally involved over a considerable period with any one girl, which did not help my chances for marriage. Besides, I believed, perhaps foolishly, that on one hand, I could not expect a woman to chase me all. On the one hand, I could not expect a woman to chase all over the map with me, and on the other, that no woman would sit home and wait for me.
Okay.
In spite of myself, however, I found many times that I was strongly attracted to this girl or that one, greatly to the detriment of my peace of mind. Twice in my life, I even considered marrying. This is all not true, by the way, because we'll find out later something in the last 2 pages of the book. He just drops bombshells like you're like, well, that just negates a lot of what you said. He said, twice in my life, I even considered marrying. Both women were famous and both of the stage. I did not flatter myself that either would have married me, but if circumstances had been a little different, who knows? As a matter of fact, both married others later and managed to get on quite happily without me. I might add that while quite aware of my admiration at the time, neither girl ever learned just how serious were my feelings. The first one was Peggy Wood. Came into my life in 1918 or thereabouts. Glamorous, successful, already a star. She was a very real person. She was a star of stage and screen, Peggy Wood. She was big. I went head over heels. But the beautiful Peggy was busy with her acting chores and buddies, and that's some movie, or some play, I mean, and I was beginning the travels which were to take me all over the world, so I had very few opportunities to see her. Peggy never knew how close she came to having a proposal on her hands one day back in 1919. Okay. Let's just get this out of the way. He's gay. Bill's gay. Bill's a gay guy.
Really?
Absolutely. He's gay as they come.
So he was going to
He's
propose
not
to a woman for
no,
what reason?
That's what I mean. Well, because back then you just did that, but he's absolutely gay, and he'll later on say that, and it wasn't a secret in Hollywood. In Hollywood, they're like now you know,
They all know everything.
Well, we think of like now, like we know everybody hid their gayness, even in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. But like in Hollywood, amongst the Hollywood people, like nobody gave a fuck about what it was. It's artists; they don't care about that shit. Like, okay, are you a good director? Okay, great. Well, if you can make me look good on the screen and we make money, I don't give a shit who you fuck. It's just there's always a more open to suggestion type of climate out there. So
is it like a super addiction where you have to say cut so you can suck a cock? Then I don't care.
How gay are you exactly? Can you not do a scene with another man because you'll be cock gazing the whole time? No? Well, good. Then you're a normal human being. So yeah.
Then let's go.
Don't worry about it. Whereas, the rest of the world, that was considered different. So, and we'll get into all of that. And that's a lot of his troubles come from the fact that he has to hide this. But his crimes come from something much different, as we'll talk about. So he in October 1910, he entered the University of Pennsylvania, which is a tremendous school, by the way. That's, wild, where he joined Delta Kappa Epsilon fraternity and enrolled at Pierce College also, but never graduated.
Oh.
He said himself he wasn't into school, so he was mainly there for social activities and sports.
He knows what he's going to do.
Yeah. At 22, his father and his older brother Herbert, who he was very close to, who helped him start tennis and everything, they both died that year.
Oh, no.
So I think at the same time, a car accident, something like that. So, so that fucked him up too. He said that was really tough on him. And what was that, 1915? So that was difficult on him. He said there was.
Did he get everything?
He got a lot. Yeah, but I mean, I don't know who got the lion's share of it because later on he will definitely either blow all his money that he inherited or not inherit as much as you would think he would inherit. One of the two. But after his dad and brother died, he said several months of deep, deep depression. Obviously, as that would you would imagine, but with encouragement from his aunt and tennis, these were the two things that saved him. Was encouragement from his aunt and tennis became his primary means of recovery from his.
So now he's under 30. Both parents are dead, and he lives with an aunt that he will be with for quite some time still.
Yeah, it's fucking weird, man. So he's with this aunt, and he. By the way, they tell you he took up tennis at age 6. And by 7, he was beating 15-year-olds. So that tells you how
he's very good,
incredible. Yeah, he took up tennis, by the way, at the family summer house in the Catskills.
Oh yeah, those places. I'm familiar.
So, if your kids don't take to tennis, maybe it's because your summer house in the Catskills isn't quite as good as you think it is.
Maybe you should improve your summer house, you lazy fuck.
That's all it is. Yeah, trim up your lawn, up your lawn game. Maybe that's the deal.
Put a better tennis court out back. What? That's so privileged. I can't imagine.
Can you imagine that shit?
Oh, God.
He's got a biographer named Frank Deford, and he says that he says that Tilden then would spend his entire adult life attempting to create a father-son relationship with a long succession of ball boys and youthful tennis proteges over time. Uh-oh. So that's his thing. He's trying to find that relationship again here,
and a close one that's just right there. He's not being lazy about it.
It's got to be tennis related. Yeah, he's a little lazy. It's all he does. He's a tennis obsessed, tennis and acting. So he went to the prep school. The weird part is he was so good, but he wasn't known for tennis in school. Like when he went to the Germantown Academy, and he didn't make the college team.
Oh.
Which is crazy because a few years later, he'll be like one of the best players in the world. So it makes no sense how,
Who the fuck did he go to school with?
Right? As a young child, he's better than everybody. Right after college, he's better than everybody. But during college, he can't even make the team. I don't understand. That's really, really, really fascinating and weird. He practiced tennis more and more and more. He started becoming nationally recognized. He wins his first national title, actually a mixed doubles championship with a woman named Mary Brown in 1913, and then they win it again in 1914. So pretty good. From 1914 to 1917, Bill won the Philadelphia championship. So he's the best tennis player in Philly. Prior to 1920, he won a number of Canadian doubles titles. And all that kind of thing. In the U.S. national championships in 1918 and 1919, he lost the singles final to Robert Murray and Little Bill Johnson. Little Bill. He loves Little Bill, by the way. Even in his book, he raves about Little Bill. Loves Little Bill. That's his boy. He ends up winning between the years of 1920 and 1925. He wins 6 consecutive U.S. singles championships. 6. He's the fucking man. So just the man. This makes him, even to this day, he ended up skipping a year, then doing it again, winning 7, which makes him the co-record holder with 2 other guys, too. So
is that right?
He still holds so many tennis records. It's not even funny.
Never heard of him.
That's right. Me neither. And I was just reading, too. Who was it? I think it was Roger Federer was saying how at a time when he was playing a lot, he said he was trying to match Bill Tilden's record of something and kept bringing up Bill Tilden all the time. So apparently if you're a big tennis fan, you know Bill Tilden, without a doubt, you know who he is. But if you're not, then you have no fucking clue who he is.
I loved tennis for a minute. It was on all the time early in the morning. Maybe it's because of the
ESPN.
Time difference.
When we were kids. It's when we were kids. Because I used to watch it when I was a kid, too, because it was on ESPN. You'd just be like, I guess this is
loved
on.
it.
Yeah, it was good.
But it translated because it goes everywhere. Everybody knows what fucking tennis is, so I guess that's a safe bet for ESPN.
Yeah, I think that's what it was for. And plus, it was all they could get. The networks weren't clamoring to air tennis at 6 a.m. probably. So
not on NBC for Martina Navratilova.
Maybe for her, but not for the other people. You know what I mean?
That's where I saw her. That's where I saw Pete Sampras. That's where I saw all those guys. That's how I learned about them.
Yeah, I remember the highlights all the time. Yeah. Even so, in 1919, 1920, he moved to Rhode Island, where on an indoor court he devoted himself to working on his backhand.
Oh.
That's what he wanted to do.
All he wanted, huh?
That's what he wanted to do here. He was in 1920, he'll become the first American man to ever win Wimbledon.
Is it really?
Yes, he's the first one. First American man to win.
Nobody ever won it until 1920.
Nope. And like the French Open, you're only allowed to play in it if you were French until this time period. Which is crazy.
They knew there was better players.
Yeah, they were like, this is just for us. No one wants to play on the clay anyway. Those clay games are weird. They stop and hit the thing and slide like 4 feet.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Kind of cool.
It's cool, but it's like that. This is the weirdest surface.
You're gonna hurt somebody.
It's so strange. It just looks like you have to be like your feet are always moving. You have to be doing the Axl Rose dance all the time.
Now with the way TV is and such, with the graphics and how close and how many pixels, you can really see cool shit. But back then it was just then it was just gliding people.
A lump of that's all you'd see. Yeah, a lump of mud. So he does that. He dominates the international tennis world in the 1920s and pretty much for the whole time from 1911 to 1930. And we'll explain this, but this is his amateur period. Back
19 years as an amateur?
Back then, Wimbledon, for all the majors, they were amateur tournaments, technically.
Really?
Technically amateur. They wouldn't get paid for that shit. No. So back then, you'd have all the great players were amateurs, and then when they were too old to be the great players anymore, then they'd be professionals and go play all these tournaments around and it would be guys you've heard of playing each other, and they do tours of tournaments, and that's how they made money. So
selling tickets to that shit, I guess?
Yes,
I don't know.
yeah. And we'll talk about how many people used to come watch this shit. It's fucking mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing.
They're still doing it because there's a muni, like a court out in Surprise near my kids that they fucking the guy that had hair, now he's bald. God damn it,
Andre Agassi.
Fucker. Yes, he was just out there, and they're charging tickets to see that shit.
Had hair, now he's bald. Has cameras. I don't know.
Loves Nikons. I don't know.
I don't know. So the Rebel EOS or whatever the fuck he is. Remember that? I remember those commercials so clearly.
He was really into cameras.
He was really into cameras. I know that. So during this time, 1911 and 1930, he's in 192 tournaments, okay? He won 138 of those.
Jesus.
That is a sick winning percentage for tennis tournaments.
60%.
That's more than that. 138 of 192. That's like 75%. Yeah, that's a shitload.
That's great.
That is impressive as balls. That's a lot. Or it's 60. It's about that. It's about 70%. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I don't know. It's a lot.
He also, here's a funny thing here.
Yeah.
There's a tennis player named Suzanne Lenglen, who was one of the top women's players in the world in the 20s, and they asked him, what do you think about her, your counterpart, in the women's
She's
side.
Amazing, just like you. What do you think?
He said, quote, her costume struck me as a cross between a prima donna's and that of a streetwalker.
What?
How did you not know he was gay? How did you not know he was gay? If you ask a man, what do you think of her tennis game, and he talks about her costume, and it's not about how it makes her tits look, that's a gay man. Straight men don't care what a woman's costume looks like unless it's showing her ass. We don't care.
If you ask a man about a woman's performance in sports and he talks about her clothes
and how it makes her, and how they're, quote, that of a streetwalker.
Yeah, that's a gay man.
It's a gay man.
Just her clothes at all.
That's a catty thing to say.
No, how about her shot? Yeah, her skirt's a bit,
I mean, yeah. So her costume
I
struck
wouldn't
me
wear it.
as a cross between a prima donna's and that of a streetwalker.
Wow.
So I was like, awesome. Didn't know. He said later on he'll say about this time period, I myself have had something of a writing career. It traces back to 1915 when I was the assistant to Gilbert Seldes, the music editor, and Kenneth McGowan, the dramatic editor of the Evening Ledger in Philadelphia, so a daily newspaper in Philly. He said, before I escaped, I found myself doing sports work and even covering some stories for the city desk. So he was a reporter and journalist while he was winning every tournament. He's a national singles champion. At the same time, he's like, I got to get home because I got a deadline.
How many jobs has he got?
A lot. He sells insurance, too, during this period we'll talk about. Serious. He's an insurance salesman, journalist, greatest tennis player in the world. It's fucking crazy.
Is it because tennis doesn't pay well?
Yeah, doesn't pay anything. You're an amateur, so you can do like autographs, but the people didn't pay for autographs back then. I don't know how you'd make extra money. That's why I think these endorsements came in tennis and these tennis rackets and shit like that, because you could do that, but you couldn't be paid to play tennis. That was part of it.
He was hip-hop's biggest mogul, the man who redefined fame, fortune, and the music industry.
The first male rapper to be honored on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, Sean Diddy Combs.
Diddy built an empire and lived a life most people only dream about.
Everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party, so.
Yeah, that's what's up.
But just as quickly as his empire rose, it came crashing down.
Today I'm announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment, charging Sean Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution.
I was up. I hit rock bottom, but I made no excuses. I'm disgusted. I'm so sorry.
Until you're wearing an orange jumpsuit, it's not real. Now it's real.
From his meteoric rise to his shocking fall from grace, from law and crime, this is the rise and fall of Diddy. Listen to the rise and fall of Diddy exclusively with Wondery Plus.
In the 1980s, a rosé swept the country.
Hey, Mike, I really like this White Zinfandel.
Well, good. Now put it down. I'm going to try another one.
White Zin became America's top-selling wine. But most don't know that this sweet drink has a sour history. What began in 1986 with counterfeit bottles.
A big fraud, a multi-million-dollar fraud.
Sent investigators chasing one of the most powerful families in the business, the Licciardis. But the closer the feds got to them, the more dangerous things became. It's a story of deceit.
At the time, I was paranoid.
Threats.
You touch my kids, I will kill you.
And murder.
With a .22 caliber bullet to the head.
What started with a scheme to mislabel wine spilled into a blood-soaked battle for succession. Welcome to Bloodvines. You can binge listen to Bloodvines exclusively and ad-free on Wondery Plus. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify.
He said that while he was doing that at his tennis peak, he would do syndicated articles to the newspapers and magazines. He was making $25,000 a year back then. Doing that, which is like making, $400,000 or $500,000 a year now.
Yeah, he's crushing.
He did that just in writing, so that's pretty impressive. In the 20s, the 20s are a big time for sports. It's known as the golden age of sport at the time.
Really?
It is. Yeah, it's when sports became. Before that, sports there was little pockets of people who followed things, but it wasn't this giant national awareness thing. And then in the 1920s, you had Babe Ruth, you had Jack Dempsey, you had Red Grange, you had all of these giant names that everyone in America knew about, and sports became enormous in the 1920s. And he was the main man of tennis, so he's considered. They put him among the. They say there's 6 dominant figures of the golden age of sports, and it's Babe Ruth, Howie Morenz, Red Grange, Bobby Jones, Jack Dempsey, and Bill Tilden.
What the fuck? Never heard of him.
That's what I'm saying. Jack Dempsey, I've heard of Red Grange, Jack Dempsey, and Babe Ruth for sure. So Now, there's a picture of him that I'll post it on the social media where he is out. He goes to California and he's hanging out with movie stars here and other tennis players, and they're holding up. Charlie Chaplin has his head on Bill's shoulder while laying straight across and has his feet on another guy's shoulder, 5 feet away.
Planking him, yeah.
Yeah, so he's planking Charlie Chaplin with a smile. It's Charlie Chaplin, Bill Tilden, Douglas Fairbanks, who's another tennis player, Manuel Alonso, Mary Pickford, who's like the biggest movie star in the world back then, next to Charlie Chaplin. So he's just hanging out with all these people. He also wrote 2 books about the strategies of playing tennis, like Ted Williams wrote hitting books. He wrote like really intricate tennis books of how to be a good tennis player. They said that his mental acumen, because he's such a strong player, he had the strongest serve, he had the strongest forehand. They said that people didn't realize what a strong strategic player he was. And that was really his strength. That's what the tennis people say. They said that he would often throw opening sets just to make it more interesting for himself.
So
because he'd be bored.
Would use his closer
to open just to challenge himself. That's what he would do. Yeah, that's what he would do.
He would lose the opening set just to
he'd
give
tell
them one.
He'd tell his friend, "I'm going to go lose this opening set and then see if I can beat him straight sets after that." And he'd do it just because he was fucking bored. He was a showman also, and he was performing for an audience. He's also a writer. He's a playwright and shit like that. So he knows how to build drama. And beating someone in straight sets doesn't build drama.
That's boring as fuck.
If the underdog wins the first set, everybody's on the edge of their seats. He's got a chance. Even if now the big guy comes back and nails him in the second set, that third set, that guy won the first set. He could do it. It's now you made an interesting match out of it. Basically, he said he invented wrestling. That's what he invented with that. So
and drama.
And drama. In 1927, here's an article about him about to take off for Europe. New York, April 20th, 1927, by Robert Sensenferfer. Sensenferfer is his name.
That's a tough name.
Sensen, Sensen, Ferfer. Sensenferfer. Wow.
Just go with Senfer. Drop the other 2.
Jesus. Yeah, that's it. It's just that again. Fuck. Big Bill Tilden, loaded down with 24 tennis rackets, a wide-brimmed straw hat with a band shading the crimson, and 168 pounds of bone, muscle, and determination, departs for Europe Thursday for the first step in his effort to come back in the tennis world. The last details of his, quote, luggage mentioned is an important one. It represents more than 15 pounds gained since he stepped off the court at Forest Hill, Long Island last September, defeated for the first time in 7 years. He didn't lose for 7 years. For the American Championship, and 4 pounds more than the best weight he ever carried. It shows in Tilden's face, his step and actions, and best in his mental state. He is brimful of confidence and enthusiasm. They're saying it's good that he gained weight, not like he's looking a little fat. He says, quote, "I've never felt better in my life." He said, last fall, a lot of people said I was done, so I decided then and there to show them that I wasn't. And I decided to start eating ice cream and put on a few pounds. What a weird time the 20s was.
I sat down and watched a lot of TV and just ate.
Yeah, he said. And then during this interview, quote, "Have a cigarette, Bill?" he was asked. Why not?
Be unhealthier?
Imagine walking up to the top tennis player in the world, talking to him like, "Cigarette? What do you think the odds that they're going to say yes are? 0.0000? They're not smoking." Tilden shook his head and laughed. "I haven't smoked for 3 weeks, and I don't expect to until after the American Championships next September." So this is April, and he's not planning to smoke till September. But he's definitely going to pick it back up again. Jesus.
I'll do it later.
This is significant, the article goes on to say. Tilden usually smoked at least a score of cigarettes a day, even during tournaments.
What's a score?
A score?
Is that a pack?
4 score is 20.
8?
So that's a pack.
20,
yeah. 4 score would be Abe Lincoln. So there we go. Yeah.
There we go.
So he's smoking a score, Jimmy. Now he's doing that during tournaments.
It's a whole damn pack.
It's a lot. He said, I started to prepare for the 1927 season on January 1st when I closed my theatrical affairs and went to California. I took things easily out there, and after 5 weeks went to Florida. I am satisfied with myself now in every way. They said, how do you think the game you're playing now compares with yourself, say, 4 years ago? He said, quote, I would bet money on myself today if such a match were possible. You can bet money on yourself, no problem. In other words, I like to gamble on myself. The principal trouble I had last year was lack of control. My knee is an old story. I've always had it, but sometimes it behaves better than others. He has this, quote, knee injury that nags for his whole career. Probably got some shit floating around in there.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you could fix it in 15 minutes with a scope, and he'd be playing tennis by the weekend and feel great.
Instead, he's got to deal with this for 20 years.
20 years, fucking dragging himself across the world.
Making it worse.
Yeah. The injury dates back to a soccer game 12 years ago, and I gave it a bad twist down south early last year. Then I went right on playing, and it got sore, so that later, when it slipped again, it didn't come back as readily as it ought to. It hasn't bothered me so far, and I'm hoping it won't. As for control, I have it again. So, 1926, he's in a movie called The Highbinders, and he has the leading role, it looks like here. And he also stars in it with a woman named Marjorie Daw, who he'll talk about here in a second. George Hackathorn is in this, Walter Long, Edmund Breeze. So, I don't know, these are stars from back then. So, directed by George Terwilliger, The Highbinders. There is no description of it, unfortunately. I don't have a plot for it. But he said, my second bout with romance took place in the middle 20s when I met Marjorie Daw. I was making a silent picture with her called Haunting Hands, which is another movie. I couldn't find the IMDb for that one, so it must not have went well. And before it was finished, I found myself in the middle of another warm infatuation. Well, look at you, Bill. Marjorie had everything, including a host of admirers, so I felt like I was wasting my time. I saw Marjorie whenever I went to the coast or when she came east. I thought she liked me, but I could not get up enough nerve to find out how much. Then, right in the middle of our peaceful little romance, which is not a romance, she met Manuel Alonso. The brilliant Spanish tennis player swept her off her feet in a whirlwind courtship that almost reached the altar, but suddenly blew up.
Mm-hmm.
So, so relationships among Hollywood people now are exactly the same as they were then. Same shit. 1927, he's in another movie it's a silent film called The Music Master. Which, and the description of it is American silent drama film about music. How the fuck do you do a movie about music with silence? How does that work? I mean, I know there was a guy on the piano, like in the theater, but he's not going to play all your music for you. Like, what the hell's going on? What a terrible thing to do. So he's in this movie as well. This is a movie starring Alec B. Francis and Lois Moran, and he is in it also playing Joel's. I don't know what that is, but that's who's in it there. Helen Chandler plays Jenny. So there you go. Mm-hmm. So amateur status, to talk about that here. He was always fighting with the United States Lawn Tennis Association, which is the governing body of tennis at the time, about amateur status, and they would bitch at him for that he made income from newspaper articles. And he's like, well, fuck you. I'm not making money otherwise.
Right, but one has nothing to do with the other.
But that's why tennis was for the wealthy, because not only is it for the wealthy to play it as your kid to be able to get good at it, but then when you're actually doing
good
it,
at it, there's no money in it.
You're not allowed to make money doing it. So during the prime of your life here, you have to do it just for love of the game, which means you have to have a significant amount of money already to play it. You can't go to work.
So silly.
Yeah, you can't go to work at the brick factory and then practice your tennis game afterwards. That's not how it works.
Right, because somebody's making money off this, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, the stands are full, man. Right. It's crazy. So
where's all that money going, you bastards?
Yeah, he won his last Wimbledon title, his last major title, because you had to be an amateur to win a major, in 1930 at age 37. And then he says, I'm not going to do this amateur shit anymore. This is from the Atlantic magazine in 1924, talking about the U.S. Lawn Tennis Association's amateur clause, okay? Because they were discussing Bill Tilden not being able to make money, being so good. This is Section 4 of the rule here, okay? An amateur tennis player is one who plays tennis solely for the physical benefits he derives therefrom, and to whom the playing of the game is nothing more than a pastime. And we're going to sell thousands of tickets to watch people leisurely play tennis? That's not how it works. This is dumber than the NCAA.
Yeah.
Because it's the same. It's the same. If you just read that and rolled your eyes, I hope that you don't think that players shouldn't get shit for playing college football, because it's literally the same thing.
If they're generating money for a bunch of other people, cut them in, for Christ's sake.
That's anytime someone is making money for someone else.
Right.
That's bullshit.
Get paid for that.
They should get paid for that. You can't be one way and then not when it comes to that. That's crazy. So another element worth considering, this is from the article, is that Tilden made more money selling insurance than he does writing tennis articles. He was a huge insurance salesman, one of the best in the country.
Should not be considered, even a little bit.
You shouldn't call your insurance agent and hear, he's in the finals at Wimbledon. He'll call me back tomorrow. That's crazy. He's got other shit to do. He quit the former pursuit, meaning insurance, for reasons honorable to his sporting instinct because he disliked the work. Well, yeah, he doesn't. Who the fuck likes selling insurance?
Who wants a day job at all?
That's fucking. Well, selling insurance is not something that you dream of as a child. Selling insurance is something that you fall into. It's like real estate. When your other careers go away, you sell insurance or real estate or. How many I know, and on this I'm not sniping real estate people because I know plenty of people that do real estate.
Sure.
And all of them had fucking jobs before this that they were attempting a career. None of them were like 22 and they're like real estate all the way, baby. And that was never happened, I don't think.
The kid whose dad comes in at career day that sells insurance, everybody else goes, what?
Yeah, what is that?
Why is this guy here?
Well, what you do is, and then they figure out
your
the
house
risk.
Gets on fire?
What do you kids know about? What do you kids know about risk management? Okay, that doesn't go over well in the fourth grade, probably. So he said he disliked the work, and because it was the baldest recognition of his tennis fame. He said that tennis gave him entree into offices when other solicitors weren't allowed in, basically. He said that big businessmen bought insurance from him just to be able to hang out with him.
Because it was him.
Yeah. He said they go, yeah, come on in. Yeah, what are you selling? Yeah, great, I'll buy that. And then sit down, and then all they do is talk about tennis with them for an hour because that's all they wanted to do was hang out with Bill Tilden. So it was worth buying some insurance for that, whatever.
Yeah, I'll bet Michael Jordan could move some fucking product.
Oh, correct. Michael Jordan could sell so many timeshares, it's not even funny. You could, if it was, you come here and you get a prize and Michael Jordan is delivering the timeshare speech, it'd be full every time. Full.
What was that?
Packed.
What was that clothing company that Utah moms packed in their garage?
Oh, Lululemon. Was it Lulu? No, it was Lululemon.
No. Not Lululemon.
Well, what the? Yeah, I know, because that's what I said was the joke, Jimmy. Thank you for catching that. That was the joke. It was fucking LuLaRoe.
Something.
LuLaRoe. We did the bonus episode about it.
Yeah. He would have moved a shitload of that.
A shitload
None
of
it. Would have.
And this is actually a current athlete, so this would be like if Patrick Mahomes was in your office trying to sell you leggings. Like, you'd buy them just to. Okay, sure.
Look, these ones have
Pick
ice
your
cream
brain.
cones.
Yeah, sure, Seth Curry. I guess I could use some extra life insurance. What is happening? How weird would that be?
Why would they not do it? I would do it if I was a famous athlete. I'd be out there on my spare time hawking all kinds of horse shit.
Listen, Mike Trout, I don't really need life insurance right now, but no, I wouldn't at all. That's why you're supposed to make enough money to be able to make your living, keeping your body in shape to do the thing that you make your money off of. Right. And then when you retire, if you're not into coaching, then go sell insurance, but not in the prime of your life. Christ. So he ends up turning professional, and a big part of this also was that the stock market crashed in 1929.
Yeah.
And he was said to have lost $75,000 on one stock alone that he owned. So he ate dicks. I don't know if his family got wiped out too, which is very possible that his family would be, a lot of rich people became not so fucking rich when that happened.
Yeah,
so
that was a problem. There were a lot of rich people's in soup lines.
There was a lot of net worth going on. Like now, this guy's got he's $100 billion net worth or $80 billion net worth. They don't have $80 billion. Tomorrow they could be $10 billion net worth if your stock goes down. So that's what happens to these people. They were all so rich just on paper, and then
bullshit. Yeah,
it's not real money. So in December 31st, 1930 is when he turns pro, turns professional, joins the Pro Tour, which the Pro Tour only began in 1927.
Wow.
So this was just like go around and make money.
Not even 100 years old.
Absolutely. Not even. No, not now. Yeah. Pro tennis is not even 100 years old. Later on, he was asked if he regretted going pro, and he said, "The only regret I have is that I didn't turn professional 10 years sooner." Which there was no professional game 10 years sooner, so that's probably why he would have had to create it. He said the amateur stars are he said that it's bullshit too, because he said pro tennis, he says, is harder competition because everybody's trying to win. He said the amateur stars, the way he put it, are fed easy opponents until the semifinals. So they're given tomato cans to get through the first couple rounds to get to the semifinals, which is like boxing, same thing. Sure. Build the record up. They said they asked him, how do tennis stars compare with the players of his day? And he said, quote, "They don't. We were better."
Take that.
Yeah. So he would barnstorm across the United States and Europe doing these one-night tennis matches, just one-night stands at these places. And they were all paying to see Bill Tilden. There was other people on the tour. None of them were names like Bill Tilden. So that's who they're playing. He beat one of his major opponents here on the 1931 tour. And there's tons of people here, too. Don Budge, who people put in the same class as him as well. He insured box office receipts, though. That's the thing about him. His people would come to watch him. They'd pay to watch him. He was ranked number one in the world in 1931 and 32 and in 1933 as well. So in the pro game. So he's fucking badass.
Even in pros, he's the best there is.
He's just good. He says from his book, above all else in the world, I enjoy fighting what I consider injustice. I'm a believer in the rights of the individual, and once I think these rights infringed, I will battle as long as I have breath. That accounts for many of the rows between officials and myself. He was, by the way, also known as the John McEnroe of his day. He would freak the fuck out on these officials, yell at them. They said his stare, he'd give him this fucking stare while he was like bouncing the ball to serve. He'd still be staring at the official, and he'd scare the shit out of these people because he was big compared to them, and he's a big athlete, and he'd scare them. So that was what he would do, though. He was like, he would freak out about shit, yell at judges, and do the McEnroe. He said, my lack of enthusiasm for a good number of today's artists and athletes can be chalked up to a strong distaste for shirkers. He explained, I feel that these people are not fulfilling their talents. I have wholehearted admiration for anyone who makes himself a master of his job, no matter how small it may be. But I have no patience with those who are satisfied to just skimp by when they could do better.
Not trying hard enough.
Not trying hard enough, you fucking slackers. To children, dogs, and cats I am devoted, but horses don't like me, and I don't like horses. Okay?
Hold on. That's just take that for face value? That wasn't a euphemism or something?
No. He goes on to explain it here.
All right.
This is in the sentence after he yells at people for being lazy, okay? Yeah. He says, I don't like horses, and horses don't like me, and I don't like horses. And I suppose I'm lazy, but I hate to walk merely for the sake of walking, although I could drive an automobile forever and love every minute of it. Okay.
I hate lazy people, including myself.
But I am lazy. I don't even write out L-A-Z-Y. It's just L-A-Z. You get what I'm saying.
And then I drive a car everywhere.
Everywhere. January 10th, 1934, and this is just like as an example of the kind of crowds they would draw for this type of shit. Because you're thinking now, like old tennis player, who's paying to watch 40-something-year-old tennis players against each other? Yeah. Well, January 10th, 34, a crowd of 14,637, the largest crowd ever to assemble to watch a tennis match at the time, came to Madison Square Garden, the old iteration of Madison Square Garden, as Ellsworth Vines makes his professional debut against Bill Tilden. That's
14,000.
Almost 15,000 people came to see
incredible.
that. The 41-year-old Tilden emerges victorious in the debut match of a 73-match barnstorming tour, 73-match tour, beating the 23-year-old Vines 8-6, 6-3, 6-2. The match grosses $30,125 with courtside tickets being sold for $5. $30,000 back then was a huge gate.
Yeah.
Huge, monstrous gate. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, that is. That's huge. Vines wins the overall tour 47 matches to 26, with the overall tour grossing $243,000, the most ever for a pro tour. That's millions and millions of dollars now. So that's why he went pro. Right under this, by the way, if you happen to be in Nashville, Tennessee on March 21st, 1935, make sure to swing by the Sears store down there, the old Sears Roebuck, because you can, the scoop of the season, it says, meet Bill Tilden in person at Sears.
Hey, Bill's making appearances
at Sears. He's going to be at Sears promoting. Yeah. This is the same thing wrestlers would do. They'd go to these small towns, they'd go to the thing, and they'd promote back in the day at the whatever store was in town. They'd have them show up at the, the grocery store to do some arm wrestle with locals or some shit.
Sears is the biggest fucking thing on earth at that point.
They sold houses at that point.
Yeah.
You ordered a house and they fucking delivered you all the parts to a house.
You bought cars, you bought houses, you bought everything.
They sold like IKEA houses back then. That's what they were.
You build it?
Yeah, they'd bring all the materials to your house and you build it. And that's how it was. But these are really quality houses too. There's a lot of the Sears houses are still standing today. Still standing. It's a really interesting rabbit hole, Sears houses. We'll have to do that as a bonus episode for Small Town Murder.
And the cars, too. I think it was the Edsel that they sold through them. I don't remember which one. Or maybe
Weird.
The Packard? I don't remember. But it was through fucking Sears Roebuck. That's all you could buy it at. There was no dealership for it.
They sold everything at Sears. It was your one-stop shop. Big Bill Tilden, world's tennis champion, will give you the inside dope and show you his winning shots at Sears tomorrow.
Okay.
Oh, wow. He asks you to be his guest. No charge, naturally.
Yeah.
See and hear this celebrated king of the court in Sears' sporting good department at 3:30 tomorrow afternoon. See him in action. See Bill Tilden in action in competition on the indoor court at the Hippodrome Friday evening at 8:45. Okay, so there's that. Then it says you can buy all of his equipment. Equipment endorsed by Bill Tilden. There's the Bill Tilden model racket. Big Bill Tilden autograph on it. This is way ahead of his time. The new 3-piece laminated frame makes this racket outstanding at this price, $5.95.
Already in it.
The Tilden Jr., full-size, moisture-proof strings, reinforced shoulder and throat, $2.95 for the kids model there.
You're going to get the kids' money, too.
Yep, 39 cents a tennis ball, 3 for $1.05. Perfect balance, white and red. The tennis balls were all red and white back then, by the way. Isn't that weird? They didn't go to yellow till later.
I can see it.
Yeah, they have
the red side and the white side.
Yeah, the yellow, white. I mean, sorry. Tennis Oxfords also, shoes, white uppers, rubber soles, cushion heels, $119. They only had sizes 6.5 to 10. How small were people back then? I can't wear it. I'm a 13. Well, I'd be fucked.
6'1" was big, James.
They'd be like, can I get 2 of those and Frankenstein them into a shoe I can wear? This sucks. Tennis shirt, 75 cents. Cool, lightweight, sturdy mesh fabric, talon opening style. So it's a zipper. And then flannel shorts are 98 cents. White cotton flannel, blue side pinstripes. So you can get your whole tennis.
The whole thing.
Shoes, shorts, shirt, ball, and racket, baby. Come by it at Sears, meet Bill, and come see him this Friday. So, he's making money now. In total, by the way, in his amateur career, he won 14 major singles titles, including 10 Grand Slams, and 1 World Hardcourt Championship and 3 professional majors as well. He has a shitload of records still, including the career match-winning record and the career winning percentage at the U.S. Championships. Now, money. He's making a ton of money during this time, obviously, as we can hear it. I mean, the tickets are selling. He's got rackets going off the charts here. But he's pissing it away faster than he can make it.
On what?
Not only does he keep a fancy hotel room and all that kind of shit, and also just kind of an extravagant rich guy lifestyle, but he is dumping money into financing Broadway shows that he writes, produces, and sometimes stars in.
There's his passion.
None of which are successful. If you want to lose your ass, put it in showbiz. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, gangsters would give money to shitty movies just to show losses so they could launder their drug money. Like, that's the level of money that you burn in this fucking business, especially in Broadway. The producers is the whole fucking thing. You know what I mean?
Is he trying to make money in it, or is he
fuck
doing
yeah.
it on purpose?
No,
He's trying real hard.
He wants to transition from tennis star to Broadway star.
Yeah.
And make money, being the star, the director, the writer, the producer, everything.
Getting all the credits.
Getting everything.
Zero.
Instead, when it all fails, you're responsible for all of it.
Right.
And that's what happened, including money, which is terrible. In 1941, a short film comes out. It's played with Warner Brothers. It's made by Warner Brothers and played, on the film reels before the movie start back then. Yeah. And it is Big Bill Tilden. It's a movie about him from the Warner Brothers Sports Parade collection, with Del Frazier being the writer and director. And it's a whole the life of Bill Tilden. It's a
production.
Big deal. When they made like a movie like that about you, it's a big deal back then. So he finally moves out in 1941, by the way. He's lived with his aunt this whole time. This whole fucking time. She's got to be dead by now. He's 48, so how old is she?
Had 2 almost marriages, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, you could say that. He's also starting to get a little eccentric in his things here. He is spending a lot of his money hanging out with young men that he's chasing around as well, spending it on young men, and also sinking it into theater projects, film projects. Nothing goes well in these. He just loses every dime every time. His fortune dwindles. He's getting more and more famous, but he's like losing money on the whole deal. So he ends up being banned from multiple tennis clubs and tournaments for what was described at the time as his, quote, blatant homosexual behavior.
Oh, what's that mean?
We don't have any idea. I don't know if he was just reviewing a Broadway show or if he was like, that's blatantly homosexual. He's like, what? It's derivative. They're like, I don't want to hear it. Out of here, gay boy. Let's go. I don't know if that was how it worked.
Chicago, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I don't. Their costumes. Wait a second. Is he talking about? Get him out of here. Or if he was blowing guys, or I have no idea what. Or if they just found out he was gay and wasn't very tolerant back then. That might have been it. Also, we don't fucking know.
Did he skip?
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know if he was. I don't know if he was. This was a discriminatory. The guy was acting like a fucking Mary. We don't know. You know what I mean? How are we supposed to know that? We can't tell. So we don't know what the deal is. But in the 40s, obviously, things weren't too tolerant. So 1944, he takes an 18-month road trip through 44 and 45. That's fucking crazy. He's going to participate in more than 200 exhibitions during this time.
Jesus.
And benefit matches at army camps throughout the nation. This is for the government because it's World War II time. So he's going around playing. Athletes are doing matches, USO type shit. 1945, he is 52 years old, and his longtime doubles partner, Vinnie Richards, who's one of the guys he was helping with tennis from the time he was very young. Yeah. They won the professional doubles championship. They had won the U.S. amateur title 27 years earlier. So they win it again. Yeah, they win the professional one 27 years after the amateur one. So
it's pretty impressive.
It's very impressive. The guy, he's badass.
A few miles from the glass spires of Midtown Atlanta lies the South River Forest. In 2021 and 2022, the woods became a home to activists from all over the country who gathered to stop the nearby construction of a massive new police training facility, nicknamed Cop City.
At approximately 9 o'clock this morning, as law enforcement was moving through various sectors of the property, an individual, without warning, shot a Georgia State Patrol trooper.
This is We Came to the Forest, a story about resistance.
The abolitionist mission isn't done until every prison is empty and shut down.
Love and fellowship.
It was probably the happiest I've ever been in my life.
And the lengths we'll go to protect the things we hold closest to our hearts. Follow We Came to the Forest on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can binge all episodes of We Came to the Forest early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus.
Have you ever gotten a message out of the blue? Maybe you ignore them. Or maybe you end up in conversation. Maybe they tell you about an amazing offer. I can really show you how to make some money. And maybe that gets you into a lot of trouble. But this isn't a story about people like you, the people receiving these messages. This is a story about the people behind the messages, on the other end of the line. Thousands of them, working in a microcity built for scammers. From Wondery, the makers of Dr. Death and Kill List, comes Scam Factory, a new series about survival at the expense of others. Follow Scam Factory on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to Scam Factory early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts.
1946 comes around, and I'll let him describe the year.
It's a tough year.
It is. It's a tough year for him as well. America was going great in 46.
Yeah,
the war was over.
yeah.
Fucking things were, going well. But for him, he said, the year 1946 proved the longest and hardest in a long, hard career. So for his tennis, because he's fucking old.
Yeah.
He's 53 years old.
60, right.
That's not exactly prime tennis time when you're talking about lateral movement and quickness and shit.
And in
Christ.
the 40s to be post 50, that's my friend. It's not a good time.
You were ready for your kids to put you in the attic for the remaining time,
The remaining 6 years.
It's the remaining 6-7 years you live, and that's that. So he's all done. We wash our hands of him. So the hardest and longest, the formation of the Professional Players Association, of which I was one of the organizers, and my subsequent appointment as tournament manager put considerable strain on me. I was running and at the same time playing in a series of 32 tournaments ranging from the Atlantic to the Pacific.
Oh, that's exhausting.
That sounds like shit. Yeah, I don't want to do that either. At the end of March, I had a narrow escape from death. A miraculous episode, but one to which, in some measure, I lay my ultimate misfortune. Okay. Jack Jossie and I were driving back from Phoenix to Palm Springs in my Roadster. We're talking 1946. There is ugats between Phoenix and Palm Springs. This is desert. He said, we were going about 60 miles an hour down a wide open highway near Wendon, Arizona. Where is Wendon?
Never heard of it. That's got to be gone by now.
It has to be it's probably a town that doesn't exist anymore.
I'll bet it's one of those ones where just that gas station's there in the desert.
Shell.
You go, what the fuck was that? Yeah.
The shell of like a thing with graffiti on it and trees growing out of it. And you go, that must have been a gas station at some point. That was probably the town of Wendon. Yeah. Because it's a highway. They're going on the highway to, it wasn't the interstate yet, but still.
But it was Wendon, Arizona?
Wendon, Arizona, when I felt the car start to swing off to the right. I tried to bring the car back to the center of the lane, and I was horrified to feel the wheel spin in my hand. The steering wheel lost.
It broke.
Steering. No steering. The steering assembly had parted in the middle of the rod, and we were aimed for a concrete culvert with a 15-foot drop into a ditch beside it.
Oh, dear Christ.
That's not good. And certain death waiting. I could not afford to panic, and by alternately pressing and releasing the brake, I managed to swing the head of the car across to the left, where lay open sandy desert. There was no way to hold it on the road, so we skidded and finally rolled over 1.5 times.
Oh, my. In a Roadster? There's no roof on that.
No roof, no fucking seatbelts.
Yeah.
It's just steel to crush you. That's all it is. And plate glass to cut your fucking arteries. Right. That's all that exists there. He said, with Jack and me spilled all over the car. I guess so. We were extremely lucky. He escaped with a badly bruised arm. I did a nosedive over the wheel and landed under the windshield. Ouch. Fuck. I picked up a jammed and seriously strained shoulder, a wrenched neck and back, an assortment of cuts and bruises, but no breaks. Once I reached Los Angeles, I got a hold of my osteopathic physician, Dr. Robert Loveland, who had extensive X-ray pictures taken and then pronounced his verdict. He said, Bill, The next 10 days will tell whether you will ever play real tennis again. It depends on it depends as much on you as on me. They said, you'll have to play with this arm and shoulder and play hard through all my treatments to get it better. Don't rest it. He said, autumn brought the professional circuit back to California. The second annual World's Hardcourt Championships was to be contested as in the prior year at the Los Angeles Tennis Clubs. This, by the way, is going somewhere. During the layoffs, I'm not just telling you his schedule in 1946. It's going somewhere. During the layoffs, I had some lunch with this lady. She seemed nice. I don't know. I had the chicken salad sandwich. It was good. I chose the salad over French fries. I figure I'm trying to keep my weight down. During one of the layoffs, I was working, as always, with the youngsters. I am one of those who believe that it is up to the older players to do all they can for the kids. Besides, like many people, I find in youth a constant source of stimulus and incentive. I met one lad on the courts who showed unusual promise. I had known him casually for some time. He was keen to learn, and I wanted to help him. He and I worked together several times and became good friends. He ends up working. He works there at this tennis club, this kid. Okay. Somehow we drifted into a foolishly schoolboyish relationship, which I should have prevented. Did I mention he's 14, this child?
Oh, my
This isn't an
word.
18-year-old kid. This is a 14-year-old kid. So this has nothing to do with gay or straight or anything like that. This is
legality. And
this is and just don't be a fucking gross asshole. Yeah, Jesus, Chris kid's in the 9th grade. Get the
You're
fuck
in
out of
your
here.
50s.
Mid-50s, pushing hard. Jesus. So he said, my nervous strain was such that at the time I seemed to lack will. I seemed dissociated and beyond control of my actions. I don't like where this is going, do you?
No.
One evening, coming home from a movie, I allowed him to drive my car, which I should not have done since he had no license. Because he's 14.
You also shouldn't have taken a date.
No.
With 14 to the movies.
You shouldn't go out on a date with a 14-year-old, first of all.
Don't do that.
And if it's a big brother, big sister situation, then you shouldn't be physically attracted to kids. So that there's none.
Nor letting them drive the car.
Nope. None of that shit, especially on Sunset Boulevard, which is where they're driving.
Shit.
He's not like, we'll go to a parking lot or down a side street. They're on fucking Sunset. They're in the middle of Hollywood. It's crazy. So he said, we were fooling around, indulging in horseplay.
What does that mean?
We were stopped by the Beverly Hills police. Now, when they were actually stopped, they weren't pulled over. They were already parked after the cop. Well, the cop had seen them swerving around, like the car jerking to one side, jerking to the other, and then saw them park and then went up to them after a minute. So that's what happened here. Stopped by the police in Beverly Hills. I gave a complete statement of fact, hoping to save the youngster and take responsibility myself. I was found guilty of the misdemeanor of contributing to the delinquency of a minor. We'll talk about this. There was never any other charge other than contributing to the delinquency of a minor to repeat a misdemeanor, nor any hint of one. That's bullshit. There was a big hint of one here. Huge hint of one. He is, okay, he's on Sunset Boulevard, and they said that they were basically fooling around sexually in a moving vehicle. Both their pants, they were found in different states of undress. Both their pants are unzipped. The kid's pants were halfway down when they pulled him out of the fucking car.
In a car.
In a car. So they were fucking around while driving and then pulled over, I assume, to finish whatever they were doing.
Yeah.
And this kid is 14 years old.
Unbelievable.
He just wanted to pretend. Diddling your own kid is still bad. I don't know.
I mean, like, you don't even have an excuse as to why you're in the same car with this kid.
Yeah.
Let alone why your pants are off.
Why your pants are going down, why the cops saw you doing things.
Right.
Now, he will say that he did not carry his glasses with him at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And when they took him into the police station, he just signed a confession without reading it. He said he just confessed to letting the kid drive and not engaging in any kind of, anything bad or sexual or illegal for that matter. And, he said he just signed a confession. And this isn't a confession. By the way, there was still sodomy laws and shit like that back then, but this isn't a gay charge. This is a kid charge. This is you were with a child charge, not a you were, found jerking off some other guy in a car, which would be right. I'd go, who cares? Fuck it. What do you care? There's worse shit going on Sunset, I'm sure. So
you can't be jerking off children.
Can't jerk off children. So that's in November of 1946. Right under that, I found this article, by the way, that it's just interesting. Permits granted for 359 homes, and this is an L.A. newspaper. So they're talking about the permit issued to the Kaiser Community Homes to construct 359 three-bedroom homes in a new tract bounded by Coldwater Canyon. This is the tract housing of L.A. being built now. Yeah. This is when it's being built. A bunch of three-bedroom homes. They said that other permits listed were Morris B. Brown for a home at 3785 Reclaw Drive in Studio City that cost $13,750 to build. Samuel,
it's like $4 million now.
Oh well, we'll talk about it. Oh. Samuel J. Chiapponi, 6430 Elmer Street, North Hollywood, $10,000, and Lester Downdall for 23250 Burbank Boulevard, $10,000. I found all of these properties still exist.
They're all there.
They're all there still. The Reclaw one, the first one that was $13,750. Yeah. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,993 square feet. The estimate right now is $2,050,180 for that. The other ones are less.
Really? That's not bad.
No, the one on Elmer in North Hollywood is $889,495. That's 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,520 square feet. And then the Burbank one, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,627 square feet. The estimate is $1,024,000. So, Jesus. Still standing these houses.
$10,000 investment, not bad.
Yeah, no, not bad at all. It's worth that's $131,000 for inflation would be $10,000 investment. So 13 times your investment is anyway, but it's worth
pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's worth 20 times that. So not bad. He goes on in his book, My Story, to say the list of celebrated people in this age and previous ones who have deviated from the norm makes it obvious that this is not a sign of degeneracy in the usual case. The last part of his book, he talks in a coded way. He says he's gay, and this is after he talks about wanting to marry 2 women. Then he says he's gay, and he's basically trying to reconcile. Because this is released after he's arrested with this boy. The book it's released the next year. So then he goes on to say, which is a very common thing back in the day, the DSM, the diagnostic mental disease manual still had gayness listed as a disease 30 years ago. So it's, or 20 years ago. So he says, quote, "It is, if anything, an illness, in most cases, a psychological illness." He says, reams of testimony from medical and sociological experts who have spent their lives dealing with the problem, indicate that the illness at its worst can be classed as a psychoneurosis or other psychological disturbance, and in the great majority of cases can be cured by reconditioning or re-educating, which we have found out doesn't work at all. Yeah. You put a bunch of gay kids together, they're just going to be gay together. They're not going to turn out, you know what I mean?
I'm not going to high five and start talking about football and run off looking for girls.
They might pretend for a minute, but at the end, there's wanting dick is wanting dick. I like boobs. You're not going to, no matter what you tell me, when I leave, I'm still going to want to see boobs. Sorry.
You're not going to make them any less appealing. I don't care.
You could say anything you want to say to my mental, and then when I see boobs, my brain will still be stimulated. It's just the way it works. Sorry. It's natural, and I can't help it. And that's same for this guy. So not with boobs.
Tastes like pistachio ice cream. I still like boobs.
I still like, exactly, yeah. And I love pistachio ice cream, but less now.
Amazing.
Less now. Less after you said that. We go, does this taste, Sarah? I'm going to ask Sarah, does this taste jizzy to you a little bit? So he says, greater tolerance and wider education on the part of the general public concerning this form of sex relationship is one of the crying needs of our time. That was true. If only for the support which thereby would result for serious studies of the problem. So he's trying to figure it out and make sense of. It's sad that you have to think like that. I hate that it's a problem. Yeah. His problem, that's fine. You can fuck whoever you want as long as they're an adult. Once you're fucking kids, your problem isn't your gayness. It's why do you want to fuck kids? That's your problem at that point. So
be attracted to whoever, just make them legal.
Make them legal. 1947, he goes to court. And apparently he believed, because he had told people this too, that because he's such a big celebrity for so long and because he hangs out with Charlie Chaplin and all these people that he's like, they're not going to send me to jail. No fucking way.
Yeah.
This is crazy. So he basically didn't really defend himself in court. He just was they called it a quote less than vigorous fashion he defended himself in. So,
like that Sarah Boone chick, just being like, I'll never have a kid in the car again. I'll tell you that right now.
Diane Downs. Oh no, that you're Diane
I'll never
Downs.
drink alcohol again.
I'll never drink alcohol again. That's I love her self-imposed sentence for locking a guy in a suitcase. So January 16th, 1947, he's in court for this, and he is. He's going to plead guilty to contributing to the delinquency of a minor.
Yeah.
The judge is going to order him to see a psychiatrist after this is all over with, and denied Tilden's plea for an immediate probation and stay of execution. He says, quote, "It comes as a great shock to all, particularly sports fans, that you should admit to such practices," is what he said. So, Tilden also will be sentenced to, you, sir, may fuck off. The kid was in junior high still, 14. Jesus, come on. Man. No. He is sentenced to 9 months in the county jail, which he'll end up spending at an honor farm. He'll be like working 40 hours a week doing labor. So, because that way you can get out earlier if you do that and do well. So, he said that also you're on probation for 5 years and must never be in the company of either male or female juveniles unaccompanied by their parents in that time.
They took it serious.
They took it, he said later, quote, "I am not a criminal. I am a tennis player. I feel awkward saying this, but I consider myself an artist of the game. I have to create." Great. Create adults that you want to have sex with, please. That's what you can create.
A judge?
No, he said that to the press, I think, afterwards. Right. If you said that to a judge, you would have been there for 10 years, probably. Yeah. They'd have fucking, who knows.
We will resentence you now.
We're going to go ahead and do that. He ends up serving 7.5 months at the county honor farm.
Okay.
So he says, later on in his book, if a man must pay for an error, there's no better place at which to do it than an honor farm. A culprit should thank his lucky stars if he manages to get sent there.
Oh.
What is this, like a...
That sounds like what's he?
This, you know what I'm saying. We're both looking at each other, saying the same thing.
Time.
Yeah, it's
man, that's frightening.
I just picture this as like Brokeback Mountain the musical now. You know what I mean? And like
for criminals.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Where they're like they all have like farm implements in their hands and they have full of dances, and which is very stereotypical.
Why did you love it, sir?
Thank his lucky stars if he manages to get sent to a work camp with a bunch of guys. Sounds.
A lot of pistachio ice cream, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, if you said that, I'd be like, okay, Jimmy. Jimmy likes guys now. Okay, that's fine. Cool. He said, I was treated with kindness, courtesy, and fair play at all times by the officers. The discipline, of course, was the strictest kind, and all infringements were punished. But I never felt that any punishment was handed out unnecessarily, nor did I see any sign of favoritism or laxness in enforcement of the rules. Good work can secure promotion on the job ladder. On arrival, I was sent to report to the kitchen and was put on the scouring gang, which polishes the aluminum utensils used in the kitchen.
Yikes.
Jesus. After about a week, I was made a table setter and waiter in the main mess hall, where most of the men eat in 2 big shifts. In another week or so, I was transferred to the commissary storeroom, where I helped handle supplies and hand out to the cooks the food ordered by the head chef for each week. He thought that was a good job to have, which it doesn't sound like it was like hard labor, so that's good.
It's just a lot of food work.
A lot of food work. 1947, in September, they let him out of jail here. They let him out of jail. He is set free. He asks for another chance when he's set free. And he said that, quote, the success of the comeback I hope to make will depend on the public and the newspapers. So he's like, you guys treat me well and say, hey, give Big Bill a chance, I'm going to do all right. But if these motherfuckers skewer me, I'm not going to be doing shit here. He got out 45 days early for good behavior.
Okay.
Asked about his plans, he said, quote, that his future remains with the American public, indicating he said he'd like to resume his tennis career. And he said at the time when the interview was over here, friends were waiting. This is what the newspaper said, quote, friends were waiting for him when he was released at the county jail and drove him away.
Oh.
Just remember that line. Friends were waiting for him, drove him away. 1948, okay? He returns to pro tennis, even though he's in his 50s. He just needs to make money.
Yeah.
He's playing a short series of matches against Wayne Sabin. He also puts out the book My Story, which I think he just went out on the tour to promote the book. Is what he's doing. So this is published by Hellman Williams and Company of New York. 318 pages, $2.75 to start out with. There,
that's a deep book.
It's a deep book. Yeah, it says if you follow the tennis closely, the name of Bill Tilden will be a familiar one. Even if you have paid little attention to tennis, chances are you still know of Big Bill Tilden as one of the nation's most amazing athletes and tennis stars. That's the ad, which is pretty unbelievable. Yeah. I would say, but not even close to as unbelievable as the ad underneath it, because it's not a sale, but it does tell you. So if you're in wherever in February 12th, 1948, it says how to relieve bronchitis. They figured it out in 1948. Thank God. Creomulsion relieves promptly because it goes straight to the seat of the trouble to help loosen and expel germ-laden phlegm and aid nature to soothe and heal raw, tender, inflamed bronchial mucous membranes. Tell your druggist to sell you a bottle of Creomulsion with the understanding you must like the way it quickly allays the cough or you are to have your money back.
I'm not taking it based on the name of it.
Creomulsion?
You haven't got Creomulsion?
Hey, Doc,
like
man.
You got to make a stink face to order it.
You sell me some of that Creomulsion, man? They took that off the market years ago. You got to have some left back there, man. Come on.
Is that like the first Mucinex, or is it the first like Robitussin, do you think?
It's probably a narcotic Mucinex, I'm sure.
It's something with meth in it.
It causes 3 forms of cancer, and you're not allowed to drive on it. It's just a disaster.
And you're
probably
addicted after 2 doses.
Yeah, either that or it's nothing medically helpful at all. It's just shit in a pill, and
it's a lie.
It's a lie, like GNC. So he says that by acknowledging his condition and claims in his book, meaning he acknowledges his condition means he's gay, by the way. Right. That's what that meant. He claims, quote, history further demonstrates that in frequent instances, creative, useful, and even great human beings have known such relationships. So he's just saying, like, hey, gay happens.
Yeah.
Once in a while, you get anybody, some Greek philosopher, this guy, that guy. Once in a while, they take it in the fucking can. What do you want? Right. He says he even speculates that his homosexuality would be more likely within athletics, given its emphasis on physical perfection, he says.
Oh.
And then he obviously says that we need greater tolerance, wider education. Then he says they talk about his degeneracy and his illness and psychological and all that stuff too. But he might have a problem, not his gayness, but another problem, because in 1949, he is being sought by the police in February of 1949. The Santa Monica police are searching for him so they can charge him with contributing to the delinquency of a minor and violation of parole. He apparently there's a complaint. A boy made a complaint that Tilden picked up a youthful hitchhiker while driving around Santa Monica and made improper advances to the youth. We have greater detail on that in a moment here. The lieutenant for the Santa Monica Juvenile Department of the Police says that he obtained the complaint from the district attorney. The warrant was issued, and they're going to try to arrest him. He is arrested at his Westwood Village home upon returning, for he had given a tennis lesson earlier that day. When they arrest him, there is a 17-year-old boy in his apartment.
I wonder what he was there for.
Not okay. Not allowed to. Absolutely not allowed to have teenage boys in his apartment. And so this is a different boy than filed the complaint, by the way.
Was his dad there?
No, it was weird. Just the two of them. No, he had his dad, his brother, his grandma was over. That she was cooking something in the kitchen. It was a really nice family affair.
Real bad.
Nope. He's picking up a different kid, and then as a 17-year-old, who knows this many teenage boys? Like, I don't know any teenage boys. Any.
I know one. He's my son.
Yeah, I know my son. I don't count my own kid. Outside of him, I know zero teenage boys. Ugats.
No,
none. Big goose
Thank
egg.
God.
I don't want to know any. They're horrible people, teenage boys. I want to hang out with them. Christ. That is being attracted to them is a horrible thing to have, even if you're a teenage girl, because one should want to.
That is certainly the problem. The problem is their fucking attitude.
Oh, my God. So he's booked, obviously, on this. He is held for trial, by the way, too, for contributing to the delinquency of a 16-year-old boy. And it was an automatic. Yeah. It was an automatic violation of parole when they walked into his apartment. So he's immediately violated, and then it goes further with these charges here. Jeez. So while the charges are being read, he slumped in his chair and staring at the floor while the boy who he picked up hitchhiking, Michael Schachel, this is from the newspaper in 1949, Schachel, he is an unemployed grocery clerk. What? You're 16.
Of course he's unemployed.
If you're 16, you're just, I don't have a job right now. You're not unemployed grocer. I'm looking for work. I got to tell you. I don't know.
Why roast a child in the newspaper? This lazy fucking kid unemployed. Why? Why are we doing this to him?
He can't make ends meet, this fucking bum.
Fucking loser.
He gets up in the court and testifies that Bill Tilden picked him up in his car in Westwood and molested him. Oh, now listen to how different they handle this in court back then. This is a teenage boy who's accusing a man of molesting him, and I was going to say molestation, and it came out molesting him. Molest. He said that the boy lives in Inglewood, and he was hitchhiking to Santa Monica when Tilden picked him up. He said that Tilden, quote, molested him several times, and then suggested they take a ride along the beach. The boy said he had no idea that Bill Tilden was like a famous guy or who he was. He was just some guy who picked him up. The judge, on cross-examination. Now, cross-examination for an accused child molestation, you're going to go easy on this kid usually because you don't want to look like a monster.
Right.
Tilden's attorney said, "Did you make any protests?" It doesn't matter. He's 16.
Did you tell him you didn't like it?
It doesn't matter if he protested or if he said, "Oh yeah, give me that big cock right in my mouth." He's 16. It's the same thing. Now you're just talking about molestation or molestation and rape. Which one? And forcible. What are we talking about? Either way, it's very similar.
You don't. If the answer is the latter, you don't want that in open court.
No. And he said, quote, "No, sir, I guess I didn't."
Oh, boy.
The reason is this kid is like a fucking magnet for perverts for some reason. This boy was molested previously 2.5 months ago in another case in Inglewood. Somebody forcibly picked him up and what is up with this kid?
Just 10 weeks ago?
Why? Yeah. He's like
Lord.
Just can't stop. He's like a black hole for molesters, literally and figuratively. Police came to get him after the complaint. They found the 17-year-old there. Not okay. The 17-year-old still a high school boy and everything like that. The officers found the youth with Tilden when they went to arrest him on the new charge of contributing to a delinquency of a minor. And so Richard Maddox, his lawyer, Tilden's lawyer, told the judge that Tilden is at the mercy of his friends for finances. He's got no fucking money. Friends are loaning him money. So, wow, that's fucking terrible. So this kid's testifying against him, obviously. He's going to have to go to jail for this, as you know,
Sure.
Obviously. The judge asked him, "What would you like? Do you have anything to say?" And he said, quote, this is Bill, quote, "I don't know anything about this. Therefore, there's little I can say except that I think a great error has been made, and I think I can prove that conclusively later." So, great error has been
I'll fight this on appeal. Give me whatever you want. What?
I think a great error has been made. It's okay. That's not how you do this.
I'll handle it later.
Wow. That is fucking wild. Tilden, this is right from a newspaper. Tilden, the 55-year-old bachelor, that's one way to put it, was dressed in sports clothes when he was arrested. Affable and smiling to reporters and photographers, he chatted only briefly but insisted on his ignorance of the charges against him. So, yeah, they end up sentencing him to jail on his birthday, February 10th, 1949 here. Superior Judge A.A. Scott found him guilty of violating his probation on a conviction of contributing to the delinquency of a minor. They said that he's also arraigned on charge of this other minor, whatever. So they said, if you have anything to say, this is the goddamn time to do it. Yeah. And he said, quote, "No, sir, I concur with everything Mr. Maddox, who's his attorney, has already said." So the judge said, "Young fellows still look up to you. Thousands of kids and adults do. You gave your word as a sportsman that this would never happen again." Your word as a sportsman. Wow, I wonder if Lawrence Phillips ever gave that word. Mr. Phillips, you gave your word as a sportsman. I'm highly disappointed in you.
Feels like the word of a sportsman carries a little less weight today.
Much less. The word of a sportsman ought to be good enough, is what the judge says. Wow. Holy shit. So the judge said, well, what have you been doing with yourself? And he said, I've been coaching, doing a little writing, and attempting to rehabilitate myself with the help of young boys, apparently. The judge says, you, sir, may fuck off. 1 year in jail for you.
1 year?
1 year. He'll serve 10 months. And here is the headline from the Daily News on December 19th, 1949.
Okay.
Big, giant, bold letters. Big Bill Tilden out of jail, a lonely, dejected ex-idol.
Ouch.
Oh, it's gone downhill. He has hit grace a long fucking time ago. He served 10 months and 8 days in 2 concurrent 1-year sentences involving these charges. Here's what it says, too. The balding former net champ went through the release routine quietly and without enthusiasm. As he turned to leave, he made his only comment, "Well, here I go again." Let's hope not, Bill.
I don't like that.
I don't like that at all. Well, where do you keep your young boys? I don't know what to tell you. So,
here I go again
on my own, diddling every little boy I come across. I pick them up in my car.
I hate this guy so much already.
Oh, he's gross. Yeah.
So is that foreboding? Is that a threat?
The end of the article is my favorite from the newspaper. Quote, "No friends or relatives were on hand to meet the former athlete as he left the jail yesterday and walked alone into the rain."
Oh, my God.
Oh, that just sounds...
With the rain.
With the rain. You just see his head dropped and the rain coming down and all alone walking out. It really paints a picture, though, I got to say. They really do a
The
good
rain
job.
really is an exclamation
That's the cincher.
point on the whole thing.
No friends, no relatives, no family. Left the jail, walked alone into the rain.
Into the rain.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
So after he gets out of jail, now he is shunned. Like the first time they were willing to be like, maybe it was a mistake. Some of his friends, maybe he wasn't actually diddling anybody. Now he's been caught multiple times. This is not good. So now they all cut him off. It's like everybody cuts him off. He's unable to give lessons at most clubs. He's not allowed in. Even on public courts, no one will hire him anymore.
Oh, no.
Because his whole thing was kids. No one wants to put their kid with this guy.
Right.
At one point, he's invited to play at a prestigious professional tournament being held at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel, and at the last minute, he was told he couldn't play and he had to leave. So they do that to him. Charlie Chaplin's his only friend, which is hilarious. Because Charlie Chaplin is known for his love of underage women, so this is perfect. He's like, listen, I get it. Trust me.
We'll go down to the high school. You get half, I get half.
I get it. You just want to smell some Ovaltine. I understand. Well, it's on their breaths. Let's get down there. So Charlie Chaplin allowed Tilden to use his private court for lessons to help him after his problems. So basically it would mitigate the fact that he's a child molester, that you get to go to Charlie Chaplin's house to do the lessons. So that's how they did it. Yeah, it's messed up. So the Philadelphia's Germantown Cricket Club, his family's been members. He's a member. This is his old money deal here. His home court revoked his membership and took down his portrait.
We will not
They-
have him around here.
They Lewis Winthorpe III his ass fast.
How
They were
about
singing.
that?
They were singing Constance Fry when he walked in a plaid jacket, and they were like, "You have a lot of nerve even showing up here, Bill. My God."
What the fuck?
As the years passed, though, later on, the club began to embrace his memory a little more. Later on, they have some of his stuff there, and the guy who runs the place said he had to get it all on eBay because the club had thrown out everything of his years
Really?
ago. Yeah. His portrait reappeared, and a catering service now offers a Tilden dinner buffet package. It's 18 and over. That's the catch. Or 18 and under, however you want to look at it. So,
A lot of dino nuggets on this menu.
a little bit. Yeah, a lot of those. Different colored chicken nuggets. That's all. Different shaped chicken nuggets.
Corn dogs.
Oh, yeah. Phallic items and different shaped chicken nuggets is all we serve. 1950, the Associated Press does a poll about the greatest tennis player over the last half century from 1900, and by a huge margin, he wins. 310 out of 391 votes of reporters, sports reporters, voted him the greatest player of the first half of the century. So
How about that?
it doesn't matter. They still know he's good. February 2nd, 1950.
Yeah.
He's at Charlie Chaplin's house, hanging out.
Groundhog Day.
And the cops come and take him away again.
On Groundhog's Day.
On
He's
Groundhog
doing it
Day.
over and
I was
over.
just going to say. He has got some familiar shit going on here.
What is he doing?
Either his birthday or Groundhog Day. He's fucked. He is taken in for failing to register as a sex offender as required by the newly passed law.
Oh.
There's a newly passed law that anybody
new.
convicted of a sex offense has to register, and he didn't register. The newspaper says the graying 56-year-old athlete was arrested at the home of film comic Charlie Chaplin by police who interrupted a tennis game between Tilden and an unidentified youth.
Oh, my God.
He's still not allowed to be around children. Still.
Yet he's still doing it.
Still doing it. You're not allowed to teach fucking kids. You are not allowed to teach kids. What the fuck, man? He was booked at the Beverly Hills jail, made bail of $100, and he also promised to register as a sex offender at the sheriff's office. So, wow, what a fucking idiot. That's just dumb.
He just loves kids, man.
Oh, my God. 1951, return to tennis. Yes, he goes up against George Littleton Rogers in a tour in April and May, loses in the quarterfinals, though, in some tournament in Cleveland. He's 58 years old at this point.
Yeah.
And by the way, a lawsuit will be filed against him against the kid he picked up and molested. The hitchhiker kid?
Yeah.
That kid files a lawsuit against him. And it says later on, too, when it filed, he says he remained anonymous until years later. No, he didn't. I just read you his name from 2 different newspaper articles. And then he came out publicly. That's why I said his name. But it was released in the Daily News in 1949 in the newspaper. So, yeah, the lawsuit claimed that he suffered severe mental, physical, and emotional damage from the encounter. I believe it. June 5th, 1993, or 1953, not 93. June 5th, 1953, his apartment, 2025 North Argyle in Los Angeles, California, which I looked that up, by the way, and it's one of these, like,
Yikes.
like
Yucky ones.
someone who, not dangerous, but one of these shitholes that somebody moving there trying to be a screenwriter would live in.
Okay.
You know what I mean? One of these tiny little, like,
I'll deal with it for now because I'm going to be rich and famous.
she's an actress. That one's on OnlyFans. This one, you pointed out all the people doing shit there.
And then they live there for 25 years.
25 years. Well, he doesn't live there for 25 years because he's dead.
Oh, they found him in it?
Yep, he wasn't answering the phone, so the manager of the apartment complex went into his house and found his body sprawled out on the bed. Firemen worked for 30 minutes in an attempt to revive him, but they said the acting captain of the fire department said that the Tilden had appeared dead for 2 hours before they arrived. How about let's not try to revive him then? What are you, magic?
2-hour dead man?
What is he, Nosferatu? He's not waking up.
It's not going to happen, guys.
The fuck are you doing? Unless you're magical, unless you come in and go, I'm magic. Hold on a minute. I got this. Or, you know, it worked for Jesus or something. I don't know what you're thinking. He's been dead for 2 hours. He's cold already.
Yeah, it's a way for the family not to say that we didn't do everything we could.
He's in rigor, for Christ's sake. He's done. It's over.
It's 2 hours.
It's over.
Yeah.
That's like that small town murder where they were driving the guy all over the place. He's been dead for a day and a half. What are we talking about? The crazy one with the church. So the coroner's office in Los Angeles said he succumbed to some heart thing by all apparent indications. They discovered the body in his apartment. His bags were packed as he was ready to leave for a tennis exhibition here. He was going to the U.S. Professional Championship Tournament in Cleveland, and he died there. He's buried in the Ivy Hill Cemetery in Philadelphia. Turns out he died from coronary thrombosis, which sounds delicious. That sounds like a Stromboli or something. Oh, I got I got an awesome thrombosis the other day from this one fucking place. The pizza's all right, but the thrombosis, oh my God, you got to try it. I'm telling you. Ones. Oh God, get the sausage thrombosis is the only way to go. He had $88.11 to his name at the time of his death.
Oh God. The only way it would have been worse is if he got on that plane to Cleveland and died in Cleveland.
Yeah, no one wants to die in Cleveland. That's not good. So his tennis legacy here, Alan Danzig, who is the main tennis writer for the New York Times from 1923 through 1968, because probably no one else wanted to do it. He was the editor of the Fireside Book of Tennis, called Tilden the greatest tennis player he'd ever seen. He said he could run like a deer. He hit everything all over the place and all that kind of shit. He was amazing. 1975, Don Budge, who's also ranked very highly, ranked his top 5 players of all time and ranked Tilden number 4 behind Vines, Kramer, and Perry. In 1979, his autobiography by Jack Kramer, one of the guys named by the other guy, he was a great player. He included Tilden on his list of 6 greatest players of all time. Kramer began playing with him at age 15 at the Los Angeles Tennis Club.
Really?
In 1983, Fred Perry ranked the greatest male players of all time and put them into 2 categories, before World War II and after, and he ranked Tilden number 1 in the pre-World War II. And I think that's fair. Equipment changed. Everything changed after World War II. So in 1959, he was inducted into the International Tennis Hall of Fame. And there is some stuff about him here. I found his records very quickly. Here are his records that he's accomplished. Okay. In Grand Slam competition, 51 consecutive match wins.
Jesus.
Unprecedented, stands alone. 42 match win streak in a single Grand Slam tournament, which was the U.S. Championships. That stands alone. He has 7 titles overall. He's tied with somebody else. This is for U.S. Championships. 10 finals overall, stands alone. 8 consecutive finals. Only Yvonne Lendl has more than him. 91% win percentage in those.
Jesus.
Stands alone. 42 match win streak, stands alone. 16 combined singles, doubles, and mixed titles overall, stands alone. For all tournaments, he had a 98 match win streak, which stands alone. 71-1 single season match streak in 1925, stands alone. He won 19 consecutive titles in 1924 and 25. Only Anthony Wilding is there. 52 consecutive finals reached in a 4-year period. Most appearances in the final of a Davis Cup, 11, with a record of 21-7 in singles. 43 consecutive clay court finals reached. 23 consecutive grass court finals reached. These are all records, by the way. 88.29 winning percentage, grass court match winning percentage. 479 career bagels scored. Well, I've eaten more than that, probably. I love bagels, but
how many?
I don't know, 479. I've had way more than that. Yeah, that's low. Come on, get it together, pal. 106 career double bagels. Wow. 11 career triple bagels. His mouth, he must be able to unhinge his jaw, this guy. How's he doing that?
He's crushing me there.
10 consecutive years with a match winning percentage of over 90%. 11 consecutive years with a match winning 11 years overall with a match winning percent over 90. And 16 years overall with a match winning percent over 80. All of these are records that he has.
Just born in the wrong time.
Yep. Well, it's never time to molest kids.
No.
The other stuff.
I just mean, like, if gay was more acceptable, maybe he wouldn't have gone after kids.
I don't. Those are separate.
Those are
separate. Those are separate wants.
I don't know if maybe he couldn't find a dude and he just.
If you couldn't find a woman, would you look for a 14-year-old girl?
No.
Then neither would a gay guy who can't find a gay guy. No, it's the same thing. A gay person doesn't go for someone younger just because they can't find a gay
great
guy.
Point. But I mean, I guess
it's not the same. It's the
but I mean, the point is
thing.
like the
you either
youth
are attracted to kids or not.
Aiming at youth was like a thing for like. I mean, it still is obviously
for Hollywood.
You know what I mean?
These guys used to marry 14-year-olds back then. Jerry Lee Lewis, way after this, married someone that young. So
it wasn't out of the realm at all.
That's true. The kid thing was different back then.
It sure was.
Yeah. Now, March 2016.
Still, crazy.
It's crazy. It's bonkers crazy. March 2016, a proposal to honor him with a historical marker at the club he was at there was voted down by the state of Pennsylvania panel charged with evaluating nominations.
You can't ever again.
The panel wrote, Tilden's accomplishments in tennis are unquestioned, but they said the criminal history led to the denial. They said, quote, the climate about this type of sexual misconduct is too fresh in the minds of Pennsylvanians. Jerry Sandusky.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
This was post-Penn.
All right.
This was like 3 years after the Penn State scandal.
Yeah,
they were like, let's put a fucking statue of this molester up there. So he said,
even 70 years is too fresh.
It's too fresh. No. They're like, not here. Right. They said any crime involving children is a touchy subject that people want to stay away from. It was a sports historian at Penn State. It's especially hard in the state of Pennsylvania, where we kind of made it our whole thing for a long time.
We did that for
at least the college, long time. Sports writer Frank DeFord, who wrote Tilden articles for Sports Illustrated and a biography about him later. He said the state's rejection is short-sighted and that the Tilden Memorial is long overdue. Should those two arrests outweigh everything he did as a tennis player? Yeah. Not in tennis. He still keeps all the tennis records, but off the court, we don't have to celebrate this guy.
And also, the only reason they caught him for those two is because he stumbled. How many times did he get away with it?
That's what I mean.
You know what I mean? If there's two, there's a lot more.
Fuck yeah. And even when he was on probation and it was illegal, he still had a kid in his fucking apartment. He can't help it. He said, it seems like a certain amount of charity and forgiveness would play into this. Are you?
Ew.
Nope.
What?
Now, on the other side, just so you know that he didn't molest every kid he ever came across, a former person, George Lott, a guy named George Lott, L-O-T-T, who's a player and later a coach at DePaul University, he said that Tilden never made advance to players, whether adults or pupils, is what he said. Art Anderson of Burbank, who took lessons from Tilden from the age of 11 and remained a lifelong friend, reported that Tilden never made advances toward him.
Sorry,
he said,
you're ugly.
Yeah, you're not too cute.
Sorry, you're not a hot kid.
Yep. Jack Kramer said Bill had all these rumors floating around about his sexuality, but, they didn't know. He said he doesn't know if these rumors were based on stereotypes or what the hell the deal was, but California didn't repeal its sodomy law until 1976. Really? And Alabama did it, 3 weeks ago, I think? Unless you're related, obviously.
Right.
Then, I mean, if it's your sister, your own sister, you can do whatever you want. Bugger the hell out of her, it's fine. It's there. So they said that his because he lived in that era, that might have played a part in it, is what he's trying to say. And they said, they think that maybe a lot of this was that people were surprised that there was any gay guys in sports. They were like, oh my goodness. So can't get enough,
guys.
Can't get enough. You can still pick up at auction those Bill Tilden Sears tennis rackets.
Really?
You can still get them. A set of them, a youth model and a regular model, just sold for $312.50, which is not bad. I want those.
That
from
seems
the 30s.
steep, though.
It's 80 years old.
Yeah, but
and
it's
in
got
good
a
shape.
child molester's name on it.
That's the point of it. Yes. That's why it's only $312.50. They're 80 years old. They'd probably be a lot more if they weren't fucking like it's got his face on it, for Christ's sake.
Jesus.
I'm sure the youth model does anyway. I can see it right there. He's looking at you while he's making sure you're keeping your tennis game intact. Anyway, that is Bill Tilden, everybody.
Oh, my God.
Hell of a crazy, dirty, filthy, weird little story of a child molester.
Famous tennis players want to be him.
They want to fucking beat him, yeah. Well, he's got all those records. That's why everybody now is shooting for tons of records that he has. It's crazy. So
yeah, we got to wipe his name off the walls.
Let's get his name off of the ranks of tennis, or it's giving us all a bad name.
Try harder, Federer.
Fuck. So
he's already retired.
I think I was going to say, I just don't know modern. I don't know many tennis players now. So I don't know. I know.
I stopped when they started banging super hot chicks and like rubbing it in all of our faces. I'm like, your life's better than ours. We get it. I don't want to be involved in this.
You can marry another tennis chick, but outside of that, give me a break.
You should have to marry Steffi Graf, and that's it.
That's all you get, which is what they did, actually. That's what what's his name married. So or Chris Everett. You get Chris Everett. Enjoy. So that said, everybody, if you like that, do tell everyone about it. Get on wherever. Get on whatever app you're listening on. Give us 5 stars. Say something nice. Tell your friends. Tell them Crime and Sports is still here.
It's
and
happening.
We are coming hard. That sounded bad after that episode. We're coming hard with child molesters is what I was going to say. So don't say that to people. They're going to really not understand the show if you say that. With them's even worse, I think. So do that. Tell everybody, please do that. Also, head over to shutupandgivememurder.com where you get tickets to the live shows. We have so many live shows lined up. And right now, get your tickets for Cleveland, February 10th for Small Town Murder, and also new shows added for Seattle and Portland also. So get those tickets right now. Shutupandgivememurder.com. Follow us on social media at Crime and Sports on Twitter and Facebook, at Small Town Murder on Instagram. You definitely want to get on Patreon. I'll tell you that much right now. Patreon.com/Crime and Sports. You get all the bonus materials. Everything we put out bonus-wise, you're going to get. You're going to get the whole back catalog. Anybody $5 a month or above, it is so worth it. Trust us. Whole back catalog, and then also every other week you're going to get 2 new episodes. So it's awesome shit. This week, what you're going to get for your money, your 2 episodes. For Crime and Sports, we're going to talk about all of the disastrous things that happen on various 10-cent beer nights at baseball games, because it's a long list of them. It took years of stadiums nearly burning down and riots happening before they went, that's probably dangerous to get people that drunk, right?
It only happens that night? Weird.
Yeah. The night before, fine. This night, the field's on fire. Well, let's fix this. So we'll talk about that. And then for Small Town Murder, we're going to talk about something really fun, old-timey small town scams. We're going to talk about these towns that would be built, and they would not even built, but they'd send these like advertisements to people back east, like Oklahoma Dust Bowl, and they'd be like, most fertile farmland in the world and everything's perfect, and they get there and it was just a block of rocks and shit. And they did this all the time. And they give them wonderful names, Sunrise, Vistas, and all this crazy shit, and it would just be garbage. So we'll talk about all of this and people losing their money. It's going to be a lot of fun. Patreon.com/Crime and Sports is where you get all of that. And what you'll also get is a goddamn shout out.
Hey.
When will you get that shout out? Right now, hit me with the names of the people who would never, ever, ever play tennis very well just to have access to my children for sexual purposes. Jimmy, hit me with them now.
This week's executive producers are Wanda Lovejoy, Karen O'Donnell, Braden Vanderblom. What? Vanderblom?
Hey.
All right.
Sure.
All of you guys, thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for being above and beyond way more than we deserve. Thank you so much. Other producers this week are Charles Emerson Winchester III, Mitch Cumstein, Peyton Meadows, Stephanie Ioga, Fartberg School for the Gifted, Captain Lou Albino, Charles Bird in Tokyo,
Albino, Captain Lou. Tokyo, nice.
Chris Davis, Happy Hour in Mansfield, PA, Brandy Huntley,
Cool.
Melissa Crothers, Tracy Keith, Janice Hill, Eros Tequila and Whiskey at Centennial Kennels up in Ontario,
Neat.
Kyle King, Samantha Alexander, Whitney Lee, Krista Werba, Renee Picard, Mike and Sarah Milas, Corey Hamilton, Jason Ohanian, Beth Haas, Sucka Free Becca, Lisa Yone, Edward DePoy, I think, Mariah Boswell, Jonah would know last name, Kristen Southwick, Melanie Tolley, Christina Ward, not Zach Galifianakis, probably not then, Gal called Poppy, Taylor Shields, King would know last name, Joe DeMars, Michael Grad, what is this called? Column? Shelled? Oh, boy. It corrected your name. It's not called. What is it? Column? Probably. Shite, I think. I don't know. David Footit, Brandy Mason, Kate
You're
Christie,
a mess.
Janie's got a question mark. Molly
Jamie's
Burbo.
got a Patreon is what she's got.
She does.
Jamie's
Michael
got a
Togneri,
Patreon.
Travis Sandal, Aaron Whitaker, Sean Robinson, Anna Gald, Kelly Carter, Laura Wood, Toodles with no last name, Sylvia Isaac, Chuck Stockler, Bonnie Cutlip, Nathan Summers, Corey Biss, maybe, Josh Antrim, Heather, nope, that's Heaven. Heaven Lee, okay. Is that real? Nick Webb, Cole Rideout, Funk Ninja, Q Solomon, Stephanie Anderson, Andrew Lane, Tate Sandy, Mimi Wee, okay. Mookie Blaylock, probably not that one, though. David Dorsheimer?
Means
Christopher
he's not spending
Quinn.
it on booze and driving, so...
Yeah. Charity with no last name. Camille Stelmach Chewitz Merolf. Stelmachowicz.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Sarah McDougall, Zangrib Zagana. Jennifer Robinson, Manda Chris, Michael with no last name, Tess Bucock. Whoa, boy. Cody Peck, Daniel Jennings, Shannon Doyle, Bryce Carlson, Hannah Johnson, Michelle Womack, Thomas Haggart, Daryl Stokeland, S. Galender, Carrie Roberts, Joseph Molina, Lisa Hairston, Bo Ta. Okay, maybe they were trying to say bow tie, or is that really their name?
Botox.
Oh, maybe. Al with no last name. Cameron Merrill, Renee Lopez, Clement with no last name, Laura R, Jacob Walker, Jana Wright, IAT Win Mom, Kyle Prine, Stephanie Romines, I think, Pat Beaumont.
Start over.
Claire Boland, Tori Jeannie with no last name, Parker Satterfield, Dustin Goldman, Sarah Mae Fisher, Chatitude Fitness, Rajko, what is this? I don't know. Andrea Plotz, Sean Robinson, Seth Hansen, CDL Sphinx, William Simpson, Justin Kern, Rory Nankervis. Nankervis? It's Nankervis, isn't it? I don't know what it is.
Good job either way.
Deborah Hardwick, Kevin Click, Justin Stark, Anthony Reck, Lucian from West by God. What's West by God? Where is that?
I don't
From
know.
the West by God. I think that's
by
what
God?
it is. I don't know what it is. Ben Tillotson, Francesco Vargas. That's a male or female pronunciation.
That's all.
Francesco is the guy's name, or her name.
See?
Who knows? What do we know?
Francesco.
Raymond Richard, Easton Holiday, Annalie Alston, Stephen Devine, the 89 Broncos, I'll take that. Buck Melanoma, Molly Russell's Wart,
Awesome.
Emily Tucker, Heather Autry, Judy Pezdek. This is ridiculous. Janice White, Dustin Urban, Nat with no last name, Roy Grayley, Poliana Feebles,
Feebles.
Justin Pimentel, Brooke Now, Jalen V, Fine Great, Ryan Connor, Sonia Perkins, Brandy Jadgman, Christy Kufchak, Brian Cathers, Chris Lees, Rip Cobe, I don't know, what is that? I don't know
He
what's
looks so
happening.
confused right now.
Bunny Taylor, Jamie DeLong, Kyle Jones, Sherry with no last name, Brad Dietzler, Rebecca Smith, Kinme Greco, what? It's got to be Kimmy. Sarah Walters, Leah Grover, Katie and Liam, Heather that's Hammer Hayes, Sarah Byrne, Chris Hughes, Hunter Brannon, April Maynard, Kathy Kopek maybe, Christy Swain, Alex Doyle, Dylan Webb, Lisa with no last name, Lisa maybe, Scott Anderson 6, Alberto Garcia, Kaylee maybe, Lobster Brat, Kelly Smith, Riley with no last name, Big Red, Daniel Hatton, Madeline and Christopher Colbert, not just one, it's both. Stuart Domini. Samantha.
This could go on all night.
Samantha Emilio, Madeline George, Aaron Waddell maybe, Christine Salmons. Samans, Matt Rodriguez, Haley with no last name, Terry Hiluski. Terry, you got a tough name. Daniel Crowley, Michael Michon Snell, Meechin, it's not Meechin. Deborah Harrison, James Gardner, Andy with no last name, Sabrina England, Michael Mann, Melody Harper, Kelly Porter, Trisha Dunphy, Sonia Butcher, Ruth Brush, Victory Hand, Victory. It's Victoria. There's an A. RJ the Psycho, Hayden Galbraith, Galbraith, Keith and Sharon Maynard, both of them, goddamn it. Dwayne Montgomery, Tammy Christensen, Emily Wilson, Amanda, Kaz with no last name, Lauren Meager maybe, Rebecca Hunt, Lisa Thomas, Jason Timothy, Mark Langston Jr., Teresa Lay, I think, Matt Nobles possibly, Mary Kowalski, McKenna Smallbone, okay, and Alicia Frakes, and all of our patrons. You guys are fantastic.
Thank you so much, everybody, for all that you do for us. We are blown away by it. Thank you for hanging with
Week
us.
after
continuing
week.
to hang with us. Honestly, we will keep pumping out the good Patreon shit. We know you like how we cook it up. So we're going to cook it up just fucking right. Not like a steak, like a crack rock. That's how we want to do it for you. So that said, you want to follow us on social media, real easy to do. Head over to shutupandgivememurder.com. There is links to everything you can find, anything you could possibly want on either show there. Yeah. Trust us. Go there. Come back. Keep seeing us each and every week because we're not going anywhere, goddammit. Right. We're going to stick around for at least a shitload longer. So we will say that. And live from the Crime and Sports Studios, we will see you next week. Bye. If you like crime and sports, you can listen early and ad-free now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts. Prime members can listen early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Before you go, tell us about yourself by filling out a short survey at Wondery.com/survey.
In the 1980s, a rosé swept the country.
Hey, Mike, I really like this white Zinfandel.
Well, good. Now put it down. We're going to try another one.
White Zin became America's top-selling wine. But most don't know that this sweet drink has a sour history. What began in 1986 with counterfeit bottles,
a big fraud, a multi-million-dollar fraud,
sent investigators chasing one of the most powerful families in the business, the Licciardis. But the closer the feds got to them, the more dangerous things became. It's a story of deceit.
At the time, I was paranoid.
Threats.
You touch my kids, I will kill you.
And murder.
With a .22 caliber bullet to the head.
What started with a scheme to mislabel wine spilled into a blood-soaked battle for succession. Welcome to Bloodvines. You can binge listen to Bloodvines exclusively and ad-free on Wondery Plus. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify.